this process, we'll review for faculty how to create an assignment in Brightspace by D2L. To begin, you want to go into your course and go to the assignments area. Then you want to choose to create a new assignment. From there, you'll have some general information to fill out here, as well as some more tabs to review on this right panel. So to begin with, you want to give the assignment a name. And you want to associate it to a grade item. Now this part can be a little bit tricky. By default, it's going to be set as ungraded, meaning that the students can submit the assignment, but it is not attached to a D2L grade item. Now, if you happen to leave it ungraded and you later decide, oh, it does need to be graded, you can actually come in here and associate it to a grade item after the fact. But in this case, we want to go ahead and set it up to begin with. So we'll choose ungraded. When we click on that, it's automatically going to change it to graded and give you the option to create a new grade item. So if I do this drop down here, you see that I have three options. I can reset it to ungraded to where it's not a graded activity. I can link it to an existing grade item in the gradebook, and this is in the case of I've already created a D2L grade item in the gradebook and I just want to associate the two, which oftentimes if you're building a new course and you go set up your gradebook first and then you're just building your assignments and associating them and linking them together, you would choose this one. And in that case, you would choose this. You would be giving you would choose link to an existing grade item, and then you would be given a list of grade items that you already have available in your gradebook that are not linked to something else, and then in that case you would just click on it. So that is in the case of I already have created a grade item that isn't linked to anything and I want to link them. In that case you would just choose edit or link to existing, link to an existing grade item, and then pick one. So say that you don't have a grade item already created in the D2L gradebook and you would like to create one as you build the assignment. So in that case, you're going to do in gradebook, edit or link to existing. And instead of choosing link to existing because you don't already have one, you're going to create and link a new grade item. I'm going to create this one. By default, it's going to name it the same thing as what the assignment is named. So the grade item is going to be named assignment 1 to go along with the assignment itself named assignment 1. So it's preferred that you keep this because this will help you know which goes with what because they'll have the same name. Also, if you need to make other changes, you can click on this and you can change it from numeric to a selection box. In most cases, though, your grade item is going to be numeric anyways. And you can change the grading scheme if you use a different grading scheme for your gradebook, which in most cases you don't. So in most cases, you won't need to change that. You'll just need to choose in gradebook and then allow it to create the grade item, and you wouldn't necessarily need to open that. So we'll choose OK. And then we want to do points out of, and so we want to put the highest grade they can make on this assignment. So, you know, out of 100, out of 10, whatever it's going to be. Notice that when I create that here, when I choose in gradebook, it's automatically going to make it count here. So it's 100 points in the assignment area, 100 points in the grade area. So those are synced for me now. Then I have the option of putting on a due date. Now this can also be a little bit confusing. The due date is a soft deadline. So say that I had a due date for the 10th. After the 10th, the student can still submit the assignment. It will just tell me when I go to grade it, and it will let the student know it's X days late. So if they tried to submit it on the 11th, it would tell me after they submit it on the 11th, it's 1 day late. But it will still let them submit it. That is what a due date does. So in some cases, you want a due date because you want them to be able to submit after the fact. In some cases, you might not want them to have a due date at all because you don't want them to be able to submit after the due date. The reason why I say that is confusing because if you look at this availability dates drop down, you also have a start date and an end date. The start date is the first day they can start submitting to this assignment. So it might be, say, today. Some people don't put on a start date. because they want their students to always, it's from the beginning of the semester once the course opens, to be able to submit to the assignment area. So it's up to you whether or not you want to make them start submitting on a certain date, or if you just leave it open the entire beginning of the semester. Then, of course, you have the due date, which is a soft deadline. The end date is a hard deadline. After the end date passes, so say that I have the end date from the 12th, after the end date passes, the assignment becomes grayed out or invisible, and they cannot submit after the fact. So let's set up a scenario to where I have the start date as the 3rd, so they can start submitting on the 3rd. It is due on the 10th. It will still let them submit after the 10th until the 12th, and then on the 12th, it actually becomes invisible. So if I were to submit on the 11th, it would still allow me to submit because it is past the due date but not past the end date. It will let my teacher know, and it will let me know that it is a day late though. So that is up to you whether you want a due date, whether you want a start date, or whether you want an end date. You don't have to have any of them, and it's up to you which ones you want. But it is a little bit confusing because the due date information is here, while the start and end date is under the date and availability conditions tab. You would then include instructions of what they should be submitting to the assignment area. Keep in mind that because you have this insert stuff button, you can actually create a video right here within this text box. By choosing insert stuff and then add a video note, you could create a video right within. Down below, you have some more options. You can upload files if maybe you have a file that needs to be associated with this. They need to look at this article. They need to look at this document before they submit the assignment. So you can upload that from your computer. And that will be attached down here at the bottom. They'll be able to see it when they are viewing the assignment area. You can also link things from your Google Drive or OneDrive, as well as include web links here. You can type the web link in here to the text box, or you can attach it here via the attachments area. Over on the side, you can also additionally record audio and video if you would like to have that in with the assignment. This record audio and video is actually the same tool that is here under the insert stuff, the audio video note. So this is the actual same as this, just a different way to get to it. But you can choose, record video, and then it would pull your webcam, and you can start a recording, and you can just kind of give an overview, hi, welcome to this assignment, you need to do X, Y, and Z, etc., etc. If you want to have a specialized video to explain to them the requirements for the assignment. But then you would stop recording, add that in, give it just a name, and then of course you want to pick the recording language because it will automatically generate captions for that video for you to make it compliant. All right, so we filled out this piece. Now we want to look back at our tabs over on the side. So we have our availability dates and conditions. We've already done our start and end date. Remember the caveat between these three. Then you can add in release conditions. Release conditions are you must do this before you can do that. So in most cases, most professors don't use this, but this would be before you can submit to this assignment, you must make a certain score on this quiz. Or you must view this file before you can do this assignment. Or you must make this grade on this, whatever item it is, before you can do this assignment. So it's kind of like an if-then. So if you wanted to do that, you can create a new release condition. And in this case, I might say something like, you must, and there's lots of options of what you can connect them to, but you must visit this content topic, and then I'll pick the content topic. So, you must visit this interactive posters PowerPoint content topic in D2L before it will allow you to complete the assignment. So that is what would be the release condition. And you can actually add more than one release condition. So it might be that you have to look at that item and you must have to make a score on this particular quiz, and it must be greater than or equal to 80%. Okay, so now it is set to where in order for you to be able to see this assignment area, you have to view the interactive poster PowerPoint in the content area, as well as make this certain grade on this test. And right now it's set to all conditions must be met, so you must do both of those. You can change it if you want to where any condition must be met, where either you can do either or. For this activity, I'm going to take those off. I won't have a release condition, but that's how you do it if you want to. Now, the next option under here is the special access. So this would come in the place of, I know that I have a student who's going to need to submit outside of this window. Maybe they're having surgery and I know that they won't be able to submit till March 1st. So I want to give them special access to submit to this assignment area on March 1st, only that person. You can do this before the fact because I know that they're going to have surgery, or I can do it after the fact. So say that this deadline has passed on the 13th. A student emails me and says, hey, I wasn't able to submit because of X, Y, and Z. As the instructor, I say that is a valid reason, and I want to give them special access to submit after the 12th. I can go in there and do it after the fact, after these dates have passed as well. And you do want to do that instead of just accepting their assignment via email. And the reason why is because if you have Turnitin turned on for this assignment area, which I'll show you in a minute, even if they have special access, it'll get sent through to Turnitin. If they just email it to you and you accept it that way, it won't go through Turnitin. So it's really best to go ahead and give them special access and have them come in and submit it, even if it's outside this window, so that it will go through Turnitin. So if we want to do that special access, we'll choose Manage Special Access. I have two options: allow users with special access to submit outside of the availability, or allow only users. So in most cases, you're going to leave it on the first one because I still want everybody else to be able to submit during this deadline, but I'm giving this one person special access. If you change it to this one, then basically it makes the assignment area invisible, or you can't submit, the students can't submit to it, and the only person that can submit to it are the ones with special access. So you want to be careful which one you choose. If you want everybody to submit and you just want to give a special window, you want to choose the first one. If you only want people that you're fixing to give special access to be able to submit, then you want to choose the second one. So we'll choose the first one, add users to special access. Then I'll be able to put in a special date for them. So maybe this one has a special due date of March 1st. So I'm leaving everything else the same, but I'm giving them a special end date of March 1st. And then I'm going to select that student that would get that special access. All right, so I can add that in. I can actually continue and add in more people. If maybe I need a person that needs another special access date, I can do that as well. So then we'll save and close. And so a way that you can check is these dates is what everyone else is getting, and then the one special access, when you click on this, that's what that particular student is getting. All right, so that's it for this tab. So I'm going to compress it, and then I'm going to open up the Submission and Completion tab. So this is where you can decide how many files can be submitted to this Dropbox and how many times the student can submit. By default, I encourage you to leave it just as what it is, which is that students can submit unlimited files to the Dropbox and that all submissions are kept. And the reason why is because say that a student submits and they realize, oh no, I accidentally submitted the wrong file, they can go right back in and submit the correct file. It will keep all of their submissions, but they'll be time-stamped, so you'll know you need to grade the most recent one. If you have it to where only one submission is allowed, it's going to, once they submit that one file, it's going to only, it's not going to allow them to submit again, even if you have it set to unlimited. If you choose only the most recent submission is kept and you have it on unlimited, then it will, if they submit the first time, it will let them submit again, but it's only going to keep the most recent one and then delete the prior one. So, but in most cases, it's easiest for everyone just to have it on unlimited and all submissions are kept. You can also put restrictions on what type of files that they can submit. If you only want a PDF or whatnot, Turnitin accepts PDFs and PowerPoints and Word documents. So I would also encourage you just to leave it on no restrictions at this point. So then you can put in a notification email. If you want to get an email every time somebody submits, you can put in your email here and it will email you saying somebody has submitted to the assignment area. In most cases, professors do not want that. They just want to be able to log in at a certain date and grade their papers. So in most cases, you would leave this blank. So really, in most cases, the submission and completion area is not something that you would really edit because pretty much the default is what most people would want. So now we look at the evaluation and feedback. This is where you can add rubrics, and this is where you can turn on Turnitin. So this will be a frequent area for you. So if you want to be able to grade your assignment via a rubric, a D2L rubric, you can add a rubric here, and you can create a new one or add an existing one. So let me just see what I have in terms of adding an existing so I don't have to create a new one. So these are the ones that are available to me. I've either created them myself or they are created on the org unit level and shared through anybody at the college. So I can choose this little button here to preview it. It'll open up a new tab for me just to kind of see what the rubric would look like. And then when you go to grade it, you would just cherry pick your results there. So let's just, for the purpose of this video, let's just pick one and we'll just choose that one as our rubric. So we'll associate it there. Then we'll come on down and we are going to turn it in for this particular assignment. So in that case, we're going to choose Manage Turnitin, and we're going to enable grade mark for this folder, and that is going to turn on Turnitin for us. Notice when I checked that, it checked a couple of things for us as well as the defaults. It checked this to turn on grade mark. It checked to automatically sync the grades in the gradebook. It checked to turn on originality check. And it checked to automatically check on all submissions. And these are defaults that in most cases, most people keep. So there is a difference between grade mark and originality check in Turnitin. Grade mark gives you the ability to mark up the paper, very similar to where if you had printed out someone's essay and you were writing on it, circling on it, making notes in the margins, you're able to do that, but you're able to do it digitally. So that's marking up a student's paper, and that is the grade mark. Now you might choose not to do that and you only want to see the originality, which is fine. But if you want that turned on, there's that button, and then it's automatically going to sync the grades in the grade book, which you want to do. If not, you would have to manually remember to do it for every single grade item, something you probably don't want to do. Then you have originality check, and this is going to be the part that you think of the most, where it is checking the paper against Word documents, other files on the internet, other papers in the database, all of that kind of stuff. So you want that turned on. Something else you might want to consider turning on is allowing the users to see their similarity score. And so basically a couple of minutes after submitting their file to Turnitin within D2L, it will allow them to go back in and see their originality report. I encourage you to turn this on because this will allow the students allow them to go in to review it, and it's a great learning resource. They're able to go in there and say, oh, this was a big hit, or oh, this hit, and they're able to evaluate it themselves and say, is this a legitimate or not? Is this just a citation that hit and it's legitimate, or oh wow, I should have paraphrased better? So this is actually a good learning tool for them. So I encourage you to check that. And then automatically allow originality check on all submissions, and that is going to, every file that they send in, it's going to send it through Turnitin, which I encourage you to do, because in the case of, they submit their first one, oops, it's the wrong one, then they submit it again, you would want all those sending through Turnitin and not just the first one. So if not, then you have to manually go in there and choose which ones you want to send through, and that's an extra step for you. So these are, for the most part, the defaults and what you would be encouraged to use. But then we have some more options in Turnitin, and these are options that you probably won't edit every single time you do an assignment, but you might edit it the first couple of times to make sure it's set the way that you want. So the first thing is submitting the papers to the standard paper repository, or do not store the papers. So in most cases, it's going to be set by default to store the paper, and that's probably what you want. And what that is once a student submits their paper to Turnitin, it then holds the paper in the database so that it can be checked against future papers that are submitted. The more papers that are in the database, the more we have to check against. The only main case when you would not want to store the papers would be if you knew this were going to be a draft paper and you wanted the paper to get submitted. You wanted it to be checked against the other resources, which it would do and give you a score, but you don't want it to hold the paper there because you don't want other items to be checked against it because it's just a draft. Later on, they'll submit the real thing and then that one will be stored. So in that case, you might choose it to not store. So this is questioning whether or not it's going to hold the paper after it submits the originality report. Regardless of what you choose here, it's still going to produce that originality report showing you where it hits on the papers. Here is actually a different rubric option, which is the Turnitin Rubrics, which is a different story for another day. But that is another rubric option that you have, which are the Turnitin Rubrics. Something that some people do choose to change is the compare against. In most cases, you're going to want all three of these checked. So it's comparing the paper that is submitted against the student paper repository, so anything that's been sent, anything that's been submitted to Turnitin before, web content, as well as periodical journals, publications, things like that, through Galileo and other places like that. So in most cases, you want these all checked. You also might want to just spot check occasionally and make sure that these are checked, because if these are not checked, it's submitting the originality report, but it's not checking against anything. So it's going to come back with a 0% hit because it's not checking against anything. So you want to make sure that these are checked. Then you have the option of when you want the similarity reports to produce. And my preference is the second one, that the reports are going to generate immediately up until the due date, and then after three resubmissions, it will hold it till after the due date. So I encourage you to put it on the second one. So basically every time they submit to the Dropbox, it's automatically going to submit it, or they submit to the assignment area, it's automatically going to submit it to Turnitin for you automatically instead of only submitting the first one. Some professors like to exclude certain things, so exclude the reference material, quoted material, small sources, that kind of thing. You can choose those if you want to narrow down what's going to be on your originality report. And then you can actually click here to save these as your settings. And so that's why I said that you probably won't come here a lot, because once you set this up the first time, this is how I want my papers, all of my papers to be handled. You can choose this to be your default setting to where you won't have to come in here all the time. And then you submit that. And then from here on out, you won't really need to come into this more options and turn it in, because it's going to, every assignment area you create, it's going to make it the default. All right, so we save that, and now we have set up our assignment area by filling out all of this and then filling out all of this. You do want to make sure that it is visible down here. If it is set to invisible, the students obviously can't see it, so you want to make sure it is visible, and then save and close. All right, and so now down here we see our assignment 1, and we see these little markers. If we hover over them, they'll let us know. This key means that somebody has special access, which we did give special access to someone. This one means it is associated to a grade item, which is super important. You want to make sure to see these flags. If not, it's not properly associated to a grade item. And then this binocular icon lets you know it does have Turnitin enabled on it. And then over here on the side, we see that there are 5 people in the class, but 0 out of 5 people have submitted to this assignment, but that it does have a due date of February 10th on it. So the next thing that I would encourage you to do is to go to the content area and double link it in. So if you go to the content area, you would want to choose whatever module it needs to go in, and then you would need to choose existing activities, assignments, and then pick that assignment from your list. So I think this is the one. And all that does is double link it right down here into the module that it goes in. That way the student can just go to the content area, click on the module, find all their resources they need for that module, as well as the assignment. If you don't do that, the only way for them to get to the assignment is to go to the assignments area. And it will be linked at the bottom here. So now I'm logged in as the student and I've come to the assignment area just so you can see what they see on their end. So they see a notice right at the top that this is going to be submitted to Turnitin. They see the instructions that you've typed in. They see the start as well as the due date, and then they see these attachments, which is my document as well as my video. Now, having said this, when you do if you remember back when we were creating this, if you do the video at the bottom where there's a link, it's going to attach it like a link. If you do it where it's embedded in the text box, it will actually show right here in the text box. So I prefer it in the text box just because they see it right here and play it rather than having to click on this and open it to view it in a separate tab. And then if I scroll on down, I see the rubric that has been associated with it, so your student knows right up front how it's going to be graded. And then down here at the bottom, I have the ability to attach my file. If I want to record a video with it, or if there's a requirement to record a video with it, I can do that. And this takes me to the same place that we were looking at before, where you can create your video there. But in this case, we're just going to attach a file. I can upload it from my computer. I add it in. I can leave a comment if I want to, but that's not necessary, and then I submit it. Very important that the student does have to attach it as a document or as a file to get sent through Turnitin. If they just copy and paste it into that text box, it's not going to get sent through Turnitin. So they do have to actually attach it as a document. Notice that they see a message saying confirmation email sent successfully, and what that is they should get a D2O email that will just basically say you have successfully submitted the assignment. Shortly after submitting, the student will be able to go in and see their Turnitin report because we allowed for that. So to do that, they would go to the assignments area. They would find the assignment that they submitted to. They would click here, one submission, one file, which lets me know that they submitted once to the assignment Dropbox, and when they submitted one file. And then when I click on that, I'm actually able to click on this document and I can re-download it, which is really helpful if maybe my computer crashed and I didn't have a copy of my paper. I can come back into D2L and re-download it. But then also I'll see this Turnitin similarity score. So this means that 95% of my paper has hit other papers in the database or online. So probably not a good thing. And so the student can actually click on that and it will take them into the feedback studio, which is the Turnitin Integration. And they're able to see their information here. If they look over here on the side, they can click on this 95. And it shows that 93% of this paper has been submitted to Gordon State College before. So they have submitted this paper before, or somebody else has submitted this paper before. So this is a really bad example of something we don't want to happen. And then the other 2% has been submitted to Gordon State College as well. And so they're able to, actually this number 2 is a student paper that has been submitted. This number 1 is actually coming straight off of the Gordon State College website because it's an internet source. So I can actually click on that and I can do a side-by-side. And it will actually pull on this side what the actual website says. So this is what it says on the Gordon State College website. All that is in red is what is matching here. So this is an example of basically a copy and paste from the website. In this case, I can click on this and it will show me, it'll highlight what has been submitted to Gordon State College, which is more of the pink color. So that is a way that the student can go in and see what they have, their percentage rates. All right, we're back in as the teacher, and now we're going to do some grading. So we're going to go to the assignments area. We're going to find the assignment and click on it. And actually, before I do that, you can see how many people have submitted here. So one person has submitted and you haven't viewed it. So this is the new submission since the last time you graded. This one is how many people have completed the assignment. So it's kind of hard to see, but this is how many people have completed it. So one person out of the 5 people in the course has submitted it. This is how many have been evaluated and how many the feedback has been published for. And there's 0 here because it's been submitted, but I haven't graded it yet. So we will see after I grade it, these will turn 1 as well. So to do my grading, I click on the assignment. I'll be able to see the names of the students. What I like to do is I like to do this show search options here. And by default, it's going to show users with submissions. So it's not going to show you people who didn't submit. I like to change it to show everyone and then do this magnifying glass to where it shows me everyone. And if they don't have something underneath their name, then they did not submit. But that prompts me to go ahead and evaluate and give them a 0 or whatnot. So keep in mind that by default, it's only going to show you people who have submitted. But if you're trying to do all your grading in one place, you want to sort by everybody so you can see who hasn't submitted as well. So from here, I can see their percentage, and I can click on that and go right into Turnitin to be able to see exactly what the student saw a minute ago with the feedback studio. But I have a couple more features up here to do the grade mark as well. And then I can actually click on this, and it will open up the ability for me to view the document and do my grading here. So on this side here, I can actually see the student's paper. And I can actually do some markups here if I want to. I can write on the paper here and do some markups as well. Now this is the D2L annotations. This is not the Turnitin grade mark annotations. In most cases, you would do one or the other. But you can do that. And in most cases, you will probably either view the assignment here or you'll view it in Turnitin. Either way, it's the same document that the student has submitted. Then over on the side here, we can do our grading. So in this case, I am using a rubric. So I'll click on this, and I'm actually able to score the rubric right within here. This is a shorter version of it. It's kind of the quick version of it to where you can kind of see the different pieces and click on them there. If you prefer to see the whole rubric of what you actually created, you can do this pop out, and it will actually pop it out in a new window. And then you can see the full scored rubric, which makes it a little bit easier to judge, I think, because you can see the qualifiers here. While when you're doing it here, you can't really see, the qualifiers are under here, but it's hard to see it. You don't see it all at one time. So I personally prefer to do the pop out here. All right, so we'll do the pop out, and then I just go through and give them feedback. I can also add in individual feedback if I want to. And I can type in feedback here, or keep in mind, if I really want to get fancy, I can click on this and do a video for that feedback if I want to. Most people don't do that. All right, so then I will close out my rubric, and it will automatically move my score from here to here so that it took my score and gave them an overall average. And then I can here give overall feedback if I want to. A lot of times I might say, please view rubric for full details. Otherwise, great job. So you could, if you didn't use a rubric, all this wouldn't be here, and you would just type in the grade here, and then you would just type in the feedback here. Because I use the rubric, it's there and it auto-populates, so it's up to you. You can also keep in mind that since you do have the ability to use the insert stuff feature, you can actually, if you do this button and do insert stuff, you could actually make a video as well that would show up in the gradebook. All right, so then from here, we're going to publish, or I can save it as a draft. And the reason why you might want to save it as a draft is if you want to grade everybody's and then publish them all to the gradebook so the students see their grades all at the same time, you might want to do that. Because if not, this person's going to see their grades now, and the person that is 30 people later might not see their grade till later this afternoon, and then you'll start getting emails, where's my grade? So a lot of times you might just want to save as draft and then go to the next person and then do their grading. In this case, this person didn't submit anything. That's why it's not there. So I would obviously give them a 0 and then move on from there. And then you could save as draft. So when you get done, you can go back to submissions. And notice you're going to see here draft saved. And this is when you did the grading of it. Let me filter though, because again, I like to have it by everyone. And now you'll see that the ones that I haven't graded have evaluate beside it. The ones I have graded will say draft because I drafted them, meaning I can see it, the student cannot at this point. But if I click on these and do publish feedback, it's going to actually send those grades to the D2L gradebook for me. So if we go to the D2L gradebook and we look under Enter Grades and we find this particular grade item, notice that the grades have been pushed right on over to the D2L gradebook, and that also has affected their average. Now logged in as a student, I can actually see my feedback and grade two different places. The less obvious way is to go to the assignments area and then scroll to the bottom, and then I can see feedback unread here, and as well as my grade. So I could see my grade, and then I could choose feedback, and it would actually take me to the area to be able to see my completed rubric, as well as the view inline feedback would be the typed feedback that my teacher provided for me, as well as any markups that she made on my paper there. More commonly is the student's going to go to the gradebook area, which is fine because they can see all that information here as well. So they would go to grades, and then they would just scroll down to find the grade item that goes with what we just graded. So here we go at the bottom. They see their score, they see their overall feedback, which is what I typed in the gradebook, what I typed in that text box. The view inline feedback was the markup that I did on that page. So the page, I did the D2L annotations if you wanted to do that, as well as the view graded rubric. And then that pop-up will give them the full markup there. So that's how they will see their grade. So that is how you would create as well as grade an assignment within the assignments area of D2L.